that radio down, please? Bro? Yes. You. Yeah, the hardest part about doing any louvers is just getting your layout right. Louvers don't take really hardly any time, but it's actually the prep work, the layout. You punch one wrong and it's junk. The deuce hood sides are probably the easiest thing to do because they're single-sided. You don't have to cut a double around. This is just a real rough ink layout to give me some dimensions. It's not the actual layout because it's actually gonna be done on the back side where we're actually gonna scribe it with vertical and horizontal lines to help speed up my stuff. I made a tool which have notches in it. It's my exact spacing, and it's a little V. You can see when I lay this on here, I can just barely see that line. Well, if you have to do this and you measure each one out individually, it takes forever. So this is my control. I know I've already used this. I made it, measured it all out, checked it twice. So now I can rely on it. So we're actually gonna put our louver die, and we're gonna split that. That's how exact. We don't use Sharpie pens or anything like that. It's not accurate enough. So this machine, I built this one and I intentionally made it a side loader so I can rack my hood. I've got indefinite length I can do with it. A lot of machines you see, they'll rack from the front and they go into the throat of the machine. So it really limits you on, let's say a 50 Merc hood or something like that that's really quite long, or a Lincoln or whatever. So this one, I can actually reverse my dies and I can do a pretty darn wide. It's almost 47 and a half inches wide from the center line of my louver to that beam. And this thing's a monster, but it's amazing just how much this thing will flex just punching through, 18, 20 gauge steel. It moves quite a bit. Just like anything, it makes it punch through easier and cleaner. And I can still see my scribe lines. Of course, I keep all the blades. This whole assembly gets greased. But what I want you to see up here is the clamping assembly. And this is basically a shear. So I've got this real nice high arc for the brow. If you want to come around this way, you can look at it. But you can just see it is a scissor. You see how close that is? It just shears it. And I've also made it so I can rack without interfering. Because you start at your front louver and then work back. So if I ever want to add a louver, I take my dies and I relieve it. So if I punch another louver in front of a louver, if I decide to change my design, I'm not crushing my first louver. I've done about 1 million of these, so even with glasses, I can see pretty good. So in the center of my die here, my punch die, I've got a little mark I put in there. Well, I line that up, because that's the very center of it, and I put that on my horizontal. Now the vertical line. You can see I got the blade just touching it, okay? It's just barely touching it, okay? So that's gonna hold it. And you can hear it kind of load. I've got rubber down there below the die and release it. So you can see just how quick it is to do a louver. It's the layout, not particularly on this. And I'm also utilizing just one leg of my table here to help me support. I like having scribe lines and not a Sharpie or something like that. I can get it exact every time. 3 more and we're done. So there we go. A couple of these had some weird little rolls and tears in them. Again, that's due to the material. And I'll take some lacquer thinner, wipe off all this preliminary stuff, and then take all the die cam off the back side, and down the road we go.